Hi, welcome back to the Megalamukos. I have a really special and deep shiur today. Like Shlomo Karlibach, that's all I used to say. Friends, open your hearts. We're going to go to the deepest of the depths and the holy of the holiest. So let us begin. It's called The Shape of Life, that the ups and downs must not disrupt our journey. So, of course, life is a journey. That goes without saying. But we have and this is Parshas Matos Masei. So Parshas Masei, my Dvar Torah is about Masei, Elu Masei B'nai Yisrael, the journey of the Jewish people coming out of Egypt, preparing themselves to enter the Holy Land. And there's known to be 42 Masaot specifically. And I'm going to share with you a halacha from the Magen Avraham, not to disrupt them, so that the ups and downs, things that happen along the way, you got to deal with them, but they shouldn't disrupt our journey. Our journey is lech lecha. We're walking towards God in service of Hashem. So let me share it. So here it is. It's the Magen Avraham in Hilchos of the calendar, brings from the Tzror Hamor, Katuv b'Tzror Hamor, Mem beis b'masos shebeparshas ve'ile mas'ei, ein lahafsik behem, shuhu neged shem mem beis. So the Magen Avraham says that in Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos, you'll read the 42 Masaot. You might make a hefsek in them, but you shouldn't. One guy should get the aliyah that has all of the 42 Masaot in them because they correspond to a Shem Mem Beis. So we have to talk a little bit about the Shem Mem Beis. Maybe people have heard about it, that Ana B'Koyach, which has 7 lines of 6 words. And then in the Siddur, a lot of times you see it's really Roshei Tevos. So there's a Shem of 7 lines of 6 letters, which it corresponds to the 42 letter name, the Shem Mem Beis. So the Zohar has a lot about it, that the world was created through the Shem Mem Beis, and the Goyin has Barim Nifloim about it. I'll just say one remez, that the first pasuk of Bereshis has 7 words in it. The first word is Bereshis, and Bereshis has 6 letters. So there's Bereshis, which is Barashis. He created 6, which refers to the 6 sides of the cube, the 3-dimensional universe. And then there's 6 more words. So the 6, let's say, letters of Bereshis times the pasuk of 7 letters, 6 times 7 is 42, which is a remez that the world was created with the Shem Mem Beis. Okay? So I'm not going to focus on the Shem Mem Beis today, but I have a davar nifla ad me'oid from the Megalamukos himself on Parshas Masei. And that is the following. He talks about ois hey, the letter hey. And we knew that hey can be spelled hey aleph, hey yud, or hey. Okay, 3 different forms of the letter hey, which are used in permutations of yud ke vav ke for av, sag, ma, and ban. But this is different. We're talking here today about the structure, the form. How do you write the letter hey, ois hey? How do the Soifrim write it in a Sefer Torah? So the Megalamuko says there's 3 different ways. He's quoting the Arizal. So I wrote them in English. The first one is Yud and Dalid, okay? And I have a diagram of how you take the Dalid and you put a little Yud in it upside down and you have a Hey. And the value, the gematria of such a Hey, of course, simple Hey is 5, but a Hey made from a Dalid and a Yud could be understood as 14. The second Hey is Vav and Dalid, so the chupchik at the bottom is larger, longer. That's a vav, upside down vav, inside the dalid. And that is 4 and 6 equal 10. And the bottom one we're not used to. My graphic artistry is not great, but you'll bear with me. It's a schematic. It's 3 vavs. Vav, vav, and vav. Vav, vav, and then vav. So that one is 18. So the Megalamukos points out that these 3 vavs together equal 42, which is the Shem Mem Beis, which is something like ani avovam pischuli shari tzedek avovam oideka. Bring me into the gates, and I will give thanks to God. Avovam. Vam is base mem base, so it's an entering into the gates. Okay, so but we're focusing on the letter hey and 3 different forms of it. And what is the letter Hey? Okay, so I brought a pasuk here. Bitchu Hashem adei ad ki beyud K Hashem sur olamim. And there's Rashi on this pasuk that ki beyud K sur olamim. He created the world beyud K, namely olam haba beyud and olam hazeh doim elahei. And there's a number of Maimari Chazal about that. How the Hey it has, you can fall down if you don't fasten your seatbelt. There's a way for Baalei Tshuva to come back around because it's hard to come up the way you fell down. Anyway, there's a number of ways. We'll talk more about why Olam Hazeh is Doim Elahei. But now that we hear that there's three different versions of Tzura Sa'ois, of the form of the letter Hey, so that tells us something about what we knew already about the vicissitudes of life, that life has its ups and downs. And so I want to sort of put that onto these different forms of the Hey, that they all have the Dalet. Well, they don't all, but the first two have a Dalet in it. Now, let's talk about Dalet. Dalet corresponds to number 4. So it corresponds to Arba Kanfoi Sa'aretz, the 4 corners of the earth, the extension of the X and Y axes. Okay, so it's about Pizur. And the Maral explains that's why Yaakov Avinu, had to have 4 wives. It represents that in this world, it's hard to hold things together. In order to build all of Klal Yisrael, he needed 4 different wives, okay? Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. And so 4, which is Dalet, okay? And Dalet is Delet Migarmei Klum. It's sort of, there's an emptiness in it, and there's Dalut, there's poverty in it. But it's a Delet, it's a doorway into a higher realm. And if you have the 5th, the Hey is the origin. It's the 0.00 or even 000 if we include the Z axis. So the Dalet is Pizur, and the Hey is putting things together in a structured order. So the Dalet and the Yud, the Dalet is this hispashtus, it's this spreading out, and we could say horizontal and vertical, or east, west, north, south, and that it's coming out from the Yud. Okay, the Yud, which is a tiny dot, even a single drop of ink can represent the Yud inside of the Hey. And that single drop of Yud, of energy, of godliness, of divinity, is what's fueling the hispashtus, the spreading out of the Dalet. But for our purposes today, I want to explain that letter Hey, comprised of Dalet and Yud, as that the light of it, the energy, is very faint. It's like a kol demamadaka. It's like an ois Yud. It's microscopic. You can't see it. You barely know it's there. And that's the times in life when you sort of feel alone or confused. You don't see the way. So you're on this journey, and it's tough times. There are other times, I'm moving on to the second Hey, which is Dalet Vav. You again have the Pizur, the spreading out of the Dalet, but here you have a Vav. Vav is always going to be Vav Achibur. There's very few Hebrew words that start with Vav. The main one we have is the word Vav, which is a hook, something that connects something to something else. The Vav connects, okay? It's putting things together and connecting them. In the Mishkan, we use the Vavim, Va'ayah Mishkan Echad. So Vav brings the Achdus. The Vav attaches words. It's a conjunction. There's a few words, Varod and Vered, but those may be modern. So our main point in the Vav is its ability to connect things. We feel God's presence through the Vav. There's talk that he created the world through Vav. So when you have Dalet, but you have a big Vav in it, so those are the good times when you see the Yad Hashem, you feel the Hashgacha, you know where you're at, okay? So there's like a spreading out of Hashem's strong presence in your life. That's the Vav is being more explicit and present than the Yud. But the third Hey, which we maybe didn't know about, was 3 Vavs, Vav, Vav, Vav. So I'm understanding the Vav, Vav, Vav as complete connection, okay? A hook with a hook with a hook, okay? And so that's a beautiful situation where you've unified everything in your life. And I'm going to propose that it's the conclusion of the journey, okay? So let's go on. Oops. There's another Megala Mukos, where he talks about the beautiful pasuk Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. And I can't say that pasuk without thinking about Chodesh Elul. There's, it's Rosh Tevos Elul, of course, and the yuds in it are a remez to the 40 days from Rosh Chodesh Elul to Yom Kippur. So everybody knows that Ani ledoidi v'doidi li is a love affair between God and man. The sign of the zodiac is the Virgo, the Betula, the Virgin, and so there's love, unrequited love. And we're holding now, it's Erev Rosh Chodesh Av, the Leo. And so maybe, the Hays that we're talking about, we're right now at Hey Yud, but we're going towards Hey Vav. But what I wanted to show you again is explicitly from the Megala Mukos, that the words Ani ledoidi, the doidi li, dodi, is Dalid Vav, Dalid Yud. So he says Dodi is a remez to the two Hays in the Shem Yud Ke Vav Ke. Okay, beautiful idea. And we all know that in the Shem Yud Ke Vav Ke, there's a Yud. Again, everything comes from that Yud. That's the beginning, the spark of life, of existence. And that's a masculine letter, as is the Vav, an extension of that, another masculine letter of giving and projecting and bringing influx into the universe. The Ois Hey is a feminine letter. It's a receptacle. It's receiving or bracha, shefa, from the Ois which precedes it. So Doidi shows us that one of the Hays of the Yud Ke Vav Ke is Dalid Yud and one is Dalid Vav. And my interpretation, as I've written here, is that the Yud Ke Vav Ke is to be understood Yud, and then the Hey has received the Yud within herself, and so now the Dalid, which is the Hispashtus, the spreading out of reality on a planar level, and the Yud is inside, so now you have a Hey of Dalid Yud. And then there's the Vav. We often divide Yud Ke Vav Ke into Yud Ke, and to Vav Ke being a reflection of the Yud Ke. So the reflection of the Yud Ke is Vav Ke, and the Vav Achibur is connecting the second half to the first half. These are often, the two Hays are sometimes referred to as relating to Bina and Malchus, to Leah and to Rachel. So the second Hey, the Hey Basra of the Yud Ke Vav Ke, is Dalid Vav, okay? Because now the Vav, which is connecting Vav Ke to Yud Ke, is within the Dalid, a strong presence there, and creating the Malchus, okay? A situation of unity that contains everything, okay? So that's Ani ledoidi v'doidi li. So if we found two versions of the Hey in the Shem Yud Ke Vav Ke, and that's really from the Megala Mukos, where is the Vav 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 Hey? And so I thought to myself, where to find it? And, we all feel that balance is elusive in this world. It's hard to keep your balance and to live a balanced life. But there'll come a time when everything gets connected. And what will be that time? Well, it says at the end of Zechariah, V'hoyo Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, v'yoyim ahu yeh Adonai echad u'shmo echad. Such a powerful pasuk of unity of all reality, the Malchus Hashem, that will come at the end of days, and it's at the end of all our davenings. They put it into Aleinu the Shabbat. This is how we conclude our davening. And so I wanted to look in this pasuk and find there the Vav 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 Hey. Okay, so I noticed that in this pasuk there are 10 Hays, the Hoya, and then 2 in the Shem, and then Bayoim Hahu, 2 more Hays, and then Yiyah, and I have it Vartaira from the Tiferet Shlomo on that, and then again the Yud Ke Vav Ke. So 10 Hays, a symbol gematria, is 10 times 5 equals 50. 50, of course, is the Shar Nun. Right, Moshe Rabbeinu reaches 49, but the Yovel is 50. That's the completion of all of human history. That's beyond what we can reach in our lifetimes. That's B'Yovel Shel Olam, the Oilamo Shel Yovel. So there will come a time at 10 times 5, at 50, and that'll be the end. And at that time, Yeh Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad. Everything will be unified and clear to us, and we'll understand how it's all connected. So that's why I think, let me tell you a little more. The word V'Haya, the very first word in this pasuk, is a permutation of Yud Ke Vav Ke. It's Vav Ke Yud Ke, okay? The second is the Shem Hashem. Then the word Hahu is a permutation of the Shem like Ekya, but instead of the Yud, it's a Vav, which means it's more connected. So it's Aleph, Hey, Vav, K. Okay, that's Hahu. And then Yiyah. This is so important. This is from the Tifer Shlomo, Shlomo Radomsk. And he says, we all recall that Chava got the name Chava, ki hi aim kol chai. So why didn't he call her Chaya? And the answer is because of the Chet. And we talked about how the moon is no longer reflecting all the light of the sun because of its claim. So all of Maaseh Bereshis fell from the level of Yud-K to the level of Vav-K, meaning the partner of Vav-K that's meant to reflect Yud-K is not a full reflection. It's more opaque, okay? But La'asilavo bayoimahu yiyeh Yud-K Vav-K, or Yud-K Vav-K yiyeh. The Shem will no longer be Yud-K Vav-K, it'll be Yud-K Yud-K. And so there's psukim, other psukim about that, and that's about Sarai, La'et Chaya ula Sarah Bain. Sarai or Sarah became Chaya. Okay, Chava was not Zoicha to be Chaya; she was only Chava with the Vavke. But Sarah Imenu was mitak in the Chet of Chava and became Ka'et Chaya ula Sarah Bain. So Sarah Imenu brought her world, at least temporarily, back to a madrega of Yiyah. Okay, so Yiyah, where you have two pairs, Yudke Yudke. So these Heys, I believe, are the Hey of Vav Vav Vav. So it's a perfect reflection of one another, Yudke Yudke, and each one of them is a Chibor, entirely connected, Vav Vav Vav. Everything is connected to everything. So that's total balance in the entire Bria, that Hashem's name will be one. Vayoimahu yiyeh Hashem echad u'shmoi echad. Absolute unity and oneness in the entirety of the Bria. I have a beautiful picture here where you see the light, the divine light coming through everything, and everything that we've experienced on our journey, the times when it was a teeny tiny yud that we tried to connect to and reflect, and the times when there was a vav and things were, really clear and strong. And ultimately, we'll get to a time of a hey of Vayoimahu Hashem echad u'shmo echad, the hey of Vav, Vav, and Vav, when everything's connected, and we'll understand all the things we had to go through. And that's what we can learn from Parshat Masei. So with that, I thank you for being with me and wishing you a great Shabbos, Chodesh Tov, Ezrat Hashem, Shenizkeh, B'Binyan Beis HaMikdash, B'Mheir B'Yameinu. Amen.